I have night blindness. On our wedding night, my husband left to be with his first love, and asked his best friend to take his place in bed with me. They thought I was unaware, but little did they know my condition had long since healed. Hearing the bedroom door open, I stepped out of the bathroom while drying my hair. Honey. I saw my husband's best friend, Leo, freeze in place, and I clearly watched his Adam's apple bob. I stretched out my hand, pretending to fumble blindly. Leo rushed over to steady me. I took the chance to touch his chest muscles. In an instant he pulled me into his arms and a passionate kiss came crashing down. The slip dress I just put on was torn off in one swift move, and he spun me around, sending us falling onto the bed. His kisses left me breathless. Only when he moved to kiss my neck did I finally get a moment to gasp for air. Just as things were about to escalate, he suddenly stopped and rolled onto his back beside me. I reached out to caress his abs. Are you tired from today? He still said nothing. I pressed on. Honey. Don't tell me you're incapable. The second the words left my mouth, he rolled back on top of me, breaking through the last barrier. I whimpered in pain. Seeming to fear hurting me, his movements softened slightly. But once a man gets a taste, he can't stop, and my waist and legs bore the brunt of it. It wasn't until dawn that he finally went to the bathroom. The sound of the shower ran in my ears, but I was too exhausted to open my eyes. Faintly, I felt him gently brush the hair from my forehead and press a kiss to my brow. When I woke up, I was alone in the room. I picked up my phone. It was already 11:46 a.m. and opened my unread messages. I saw you were still asleep this morning and couldn't bear to wake you. The overseas branch has run into some issues. The board ordered me to go on a business trip for a month. Take care of yourself while I'm gone, I'll miss you. I sneered. A business trip was just an excuse. In reality, my so-called newlywed husband had gone on a honeymoon with his first love. It had all started right after our wedding ceremony yesterday. I'd gone to the dressing room to change into a toast-giving dress. When I stepped out, I heard my groom, Finn, chatting with his friends. One of them joked, "Finn, you really know how to live. Just got married and now you're off on a honeymoon abroad." I lifted the corner of my mouth, about to walk over, when Leo's voice cut in. "If you're still hung up on your first love, why did you marry Chanelsi?" First love. My heart clenched. I froze, my raised foot unable to move forward. Finn had his back to me, hands in his pockets, sounding indifferent. Leanne is my first love. Who can forget their first love? Now that she's come back to me, of course I'm happy. As for Elsie, she's family-oriented, loyal, and the perfect marriage candidate. She has a master's degree, became an executive at Shun Group at a young age, and landed me that big contract. She's a huge help to my career. But I can't lose Leanne either. So I'll hold the wedding first, give Elsie some so-called security. I felt my blood run cold. Leo seemed to glance in my direction, so I quickly ducked behind a pillar. Then I heard him say, "So you're planning to two-time her?" Another friend laughed. "Come on, Leo, don't put it so harshly. This is Finn enjoying the best of both worlds." Finn sighed. "Enough messing around. Leanne's probably waiting for me at the airport by now." Leo's tone turned sharp with disapproval. "You mean you're just going to leave your bride here?" Finn shrugged. "Relax, she has night blindness. Once it gets dark, she can't see a thing. One of you guys cover for me? Just pretend to be drunk, leave before dawn. She'll never find out." My phone pinged with a message. "Honey, you must be tired today. I have an emergency at the company and need to go handle it. Go rest first." If I hadn't heard them laughing about his first love and ditching me, I might have actually believed he loved me. Turns out, he only cared about my status as an executive. What a joke. What he didn't know was that I wasn't just an executive at Shun Group, I was its sole heir. I immediately changed his contact name from Honey to Scumbag. I typed back casually, "Go take care of your work." Finn held up my reply to his friends, showing off. "See? I just say there's an emergency at the company, and she's so obedient she lets me go." He patted Leo's shoulder. "Buddy, tonight's up to you." He left with a spring in his step. The others joked about heading back to the banquet for more drinks. I immediately texted my dad. "Dad, cancel the planned investment in Tianyao Group tomorrow." My dad called to ask what happened. I gave him a quick summary and said I'd explain the details when I got home the next day. Originally, I'd planned to take Finn back to the Shin family after the wedding and reveal my true identity. He'd almost hit the jackpot, gaining Shin group support, just like he'd bragged about to boost his career. Oh, I should thank him for rejecting me. Pulling myself back to the present, I called Finn. As expected, his phone was off. He must have thought the investment would go through for sure, using our wedding honeymoon as an excuse to openly go on vacation with his first love. He was so arrogant. I couldn't wait to see his face when he got back in a month and found out the project had fallen through. I got up, freshened up, and changed into a sweet dress. I went down to the underground garage and walked toward a convertible sports car. Originally, this was supposed to be my wedding gift to Finn. We were meant to drive it to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register our marriage. Now it seemed some people were destined to stay stuck in mediocrity forever. I drove the sports car back to the Shin residence. Nanny Wong had just set the table for lunch. When she saw me, she said, "Young lady, you're back." I nodded. My parents heard her voice and came over from the living room. My mom pulled me into a hug right away. I patted her back gently. "Mom, I'm fine." My dad just watched us hug. When my mom let go, he said, "Let's eat first." My mom nodded eagerly. Yes, let's eat. I told Wong to make all your favorite dishes today." During the meal, my mom kept piling food onto my plate, complaining that I'd lost weight living alone. After getting together with Finn, I'd bought a 200 square meter apartment to protect his pride and test his character. He'd claimed he couldn't afford a wedding house since his business was still starting out, so he'd asked to use my apartment as our marital home. He even promised to buy me a villa once he made it big. My mom cursed between bites. "That scumbag is so arrogant." "Good riddance, you dodged a bullet, Elsie." My dad said, "Since you've split up, move back home." My mom agreed immediately. "Yes, Elsie. I've been so worried about you living alone. That scumbag just left you like that yesterday. If you hadn't stopped me, I would have taken people to the airport to stop him and beat him up." I shrugged. "Mom, it just means he didn't have the luck to be your son-in-law." My mom nodded. "That's right. I'll hold off on moving back for now. He still thinks I'm in the dark, that he'll definitely get the investment today and hit the big time. If I was going to play this act, I'd play it all the way." I looked at my dad. "Dad, schedule my CEO inauguration for a month from now." My mom's eyes lit up. "Finally. You should have taken the CEO position ages ago. You insisted on training in the marketing department. Being a marketing director is way beneath you." That night, I returned to my apartment. After showering, I stepped out of the bathroom to find Pei Leo sitting on the small sofa in the bedroom. I pretended to reach forward blindly, then slipped and gasped. Leo darted over, wrapping his arms around my waist to steady me. I tested the waters, calling out, "Honey." I watched him swallow. He lifted me into his arms and set me on the bed, then turned and walked into the bathroom. The sound of running water filled the air. Through the frosted glass door, I could faintly make out the outline of his showering figure. I found it amusing and decided to tease him. I walked over to the bathroom door and pushed it open, my gaze landing on his abs. He froze in shock. "Honey, didn't you say the overseas branch had issues and you had to go on a 1-month business trip?" In response, he pulled me into the bathroom. The shower head above us poured water over his back as he kissed me passionately. My slip dress fell to the floor. In one spin, we both tumbled into the bathtub, splashing water everywhere. When I woke up, Leo was already gone. For the next month, Leo showed up every night, and we spent each night tangled in each other's arms. A month passed in the blink of an eye, and it was time for Finn to return home with his first love. I went to the airport specifically to pick him up. From a distance, I saw him pushing a luggage cart, his first love hanging on his arm, laughing brightly. They chatted and smiled as they walked, looking like a married couple. I pulled out my phone and took a photo. As I got closer, Finn finally noticed me. He jumped, yanking his arm out of his first love's grasp, and hurried over. "Elsie, what are you doing here?" His first love glared at me from behind him, her eyes full of defiance. I smiled, pretending not to notice. "You said your business trip was a month. I thought today was your return date. I didn't know your flight time, so I checked the overseas arrivals. Figured it'd be around now. Lucky me, I just got here and you're already back." I wasn't about to tell him I'd looked up his flight info and timed my arrival on purpose. Finn nodded awkwardly. Oh. Right, that's it. My gaze finally shifted to his first love, who'd walked over. I looked at Finn in feigned confusion. Who's this? Finn quickly explained, this is a senior from our university. We happened to be on the same flight. I saw she was struggling with all her luggage alone, so I offered to help. I nodded. Is your phone still off? He suddenly remembered his phone, pulling it out with an apologetic look. Sorry, Elsie, I was so busy overseas I never turned it on. I stared at the dark circles under his eyes. Yeah, you look pretty worn out. Worn out from exhausting his kidneys, no doubt. I couldn't help but think of Leo's face. He'd spent every night with me for a month too, yet he had no dark circles. He looked like a man who was more than capable. Finn unlocked his phone. The second it turned on, it buzzed non-stop with notifications. He frowned at the dozens of missed calls from the company, muttering under his breath. I thought this was supposed to be my private honeymoon. Why's the company still bugging me? I pretended not to hear. Did you say something? He forced a smile. Nothing. Just saying the business trip was tiring and I didn't expect work stuff to follow me back. He opened a voice message and a furious shout blared from the phone. Fu Finn. What the hell are you playing at? The investment fell through and now you're MIA. Shocked, he quickly turned off the speaker and held the phone to his ear. The more he listened, the paler his face became. Is everything okay? I asked. You look terrible. Fin Fu didn't even bother to pay attention to me. He turned to look at Bai Yueguang and said, Eileen, you go settle down first. I have something urgent to take care of. Fin Fu then ran off. Bai Yueguang, no longer the demure girl in front of Fin Fu, reached out to me and said, I'm Bai Lian. I looked at her hand but didn't take it. Instead I nodded and said, yes, you live up to your name. What a big white lotus. During this month, I had already ordered people to investigate Fin Fu and Bai Lian's past. Bai Lian wasn't some senior but rather Fin Fu's childhood sweetheart. As for her appearance, she wasn't as pure as her name suggested. She was the type who grew up too quickly, perhaps like what people say online, women who have given birth age faster. Fin Fu really doesn't have any standards. When people look for mistresses, they usually choose someone younger and prettier than their wives. But he, on the other hand, found a third wife? Bai Lian didn't get angry when I ignored her. She withdrew her hand and smoothed her bangs, saying, let me tell you the truth. Fin didn't go on a business trip this month. He spent his honeymoon with me. We visited several countries. He called me baby every day. Bai Lian smiled smugly. I frowned in disgust and said, he really doesn't have any standards. She wanted to see me get angry, but my indifferent reaction made her furious. Look at you. You knew all along. I spread my hands and said, so what if I knew? Humph. The only one Fin loves is me. Even if you had a simple wedding, it doesn't matter. As long as you didn't get married officially, you're not his wife. I quickly waved my hand and said, sister, don't disgust me. Who wants to get married to him? Since you two are so in love, I wish you a long and happy life as a whore and a dog. Bai Lian's face turned even more ugly. I added, remember to lock yourselves up. Don't hurt anyone else. After saying that, I turned and left. Bai Lian was so angry that she jumped up and down on the spot. I turned off the voice recorder in my bag and drove to the hospital. Just as I took out the blood test results from the morning from the report machine, my phone rang. The caller ID read, a man who deceives and plays with women's feelings. I glanced at the test results on the sheet. The progesterone level was rising, confirming pregnancy. I immediately blocked the call from the man who deceives and plays with women's feelings. He sent a voice message again. Elsie, why can't I reach you? Why did the investment from the Shin Group get cancelled? All my efforts for so long will be in vain. I'm coming to the Shin Group right now. You must give me an explanation for this matter. Otherwise, my team is doomed. The phone rang again. This time it was from the real estate agent Xiao Wang. I put my house up for sale online. I swiped to reject the call. Xiao Wang's voice came from the other end of the phone. Miss Shin, Mr. and Mrs. Li have just finished viewing your house. When would be convenient for you to sign the sale contract? Tao is fine. If they want to move in, they can do so today. Wait for me for a moment. I'll be right back. I first took the test results to the doctor's office and was told that the fetus was healthy. The doctor advised me to come back in 2 weeks for a color Doppler ultrasound. Then I drove back. The real estate agent and the Lee family were all waiting for me in the living room. As soon as I entered, Xiao Wang hurriedly came forward and said, "Miss Shin, you're back. Here is the sale contract drafted according to your requirements. Mr. and Mrs. Lee have no objections to the price. If it's okay with you, can we sign the contract and handle the transfer procedures?" Mrs. Lee said, "Miss Shin, your house has such a good layout and is still so new. Are you really willing to sell it at a low price?" I looked at the house. It was indeed only occupied for a few months. I took the contract from Xiao Wang's hand, signed 2 copies and handed them to Mrs. Lee. She finally smiled with satisfaction. Mr. Lee is also a straightforward person. He immediately transferred the money. I took out 10,000 yuan in cash from my bag. This is the commission for Xiao Wang. Xiao Wang was also beaming and kept calling me sister. "I'll handle the transfer procedures. You can move in today." With that I left. Xiao Wang kept assuring me, "Don't worry, sister. I'll get it done soon." I had just returned to the Shin family when the barrage of messages from the man who played with women's feelings came again. "What are you doing? Why can't I reach you? I went to Shin Group to find you, but the front desk wouldn't let me up. When I came home to look for you, a man opened the door. He even called the security guards to kick me out of the community. What have you been doing behind my back in this month I was away? Why did that man say it was his home? The reason I haven't blocked his WeChat is to see how he would react when he found out I sold the house." Seeing that I didn't reply, he softened his tone and sent another message. "Elsie, you know how important the cooperation with Shin Group is to me. As the marketing director, you can't be unaware of the reason. I was drinking the bird's nest stewed by Aunt Wang when he directly initiated a video call. I answered it. In the video I was eating bird's nest in the luxury house. I saw Fin Fu's sullen face. You finally picked up the phone? Where are you? Why did Shin Group cancel the promised investment? Don't you know this is a disaster for me? Everyone in my team lost their jobs because of the lack of investment. Even I have to bear the company's losses. I continue to eat the bird's nest bite by bite. Fin Fu finally showed his true colors. Did you hook up with some rich guy while I was on a business trip abroad? I swallowed the last bite of bird's nest and looked at the screen. You've been blabbering so much. Which sentence do you want me to answer? He finally quieted down, waiting for my reply. Elsie, did you really go on a business trip abroad this month? He clearly heaved a sigh of relief. Elsie, how could you ask such a question? I told you there were some issues with the overseas branch, so I went to handle them. Since you say it was a business trip, then why? You didn't even know that Shin Group didn't invest this whole month. How? Did you cut off all contact with the company while on a business trip? So, how did you cooperate with the company's work? Fin Fu clearly hadn't thought of how to respond to this question. After all, he thought the investment would never be cancelled, and now it had slapped him in the face. He said, So, you did something behind my back, right? Why did you do this? My career decline doesn't benefit you at all. I quickly raised my hand. Stop. We just had a simple wedding. We haven't even met each other's parents, let alone registered. So at most I can only say, I was blind to agree to date you for a few months. Fin Fu was indeed fuming with rage. Elsie Shin, do you think that by ruining our cooperation you've ruined my chances? Shin Group was willing to invest in my project before. It must be because someone above you saw its potential. I heard that the new president of Shin Group takes office tomorrow. Without you, I'm sure I can still get the investment. I nodded non-committally. Then, I wish you success. I hung up the video call and deleted it directly. My mom came back with a stylist. Elsie, come on, it's time for your styling. Look at the dresses I picked for you. They're sure to stun everyone. I looked at the dresses being pushed in. They were all very eye-catching. Mom, I'm just going to the new president's inauguration, not a beauty pageant. And most of the company employees already knew me, so there was no need to be so grand, right? My mom didn't say a word and brought a tight white dress with diamonds over to me, comparing it to me. This one makes my Elsie look noble, but it's still lacking a certain something. She then brought a red strapless dress over and compared it to me. This one makes my Elsie look fair-skinned, beautiful and with long legs. We'll wear this one first and keep the others as backups. I nodded. All right. I changed into the red dress and the stylist did my makeup. When I arrived at the banquet, the company's senior executives and many business partners were already there. After the host gave a brief welcome and introduction, my dad went up on stage and said, "I'm very glad that everyone could come to the banquet. Tonight, I'm going to announce that my daughter will officially take over as the president of the Shun Group." The host beside him said, "Let's give a warm welcome to the new president." I walked up to my dad's side in high heels amid the applause. I immediately saw Leo Pei standing very close to the stage. Why was he here? I was only slightly puzzled for a moment before taking the microphone the host handed me. "Hello everyone, I'm Elsie Shin. From now on I will take over as the president of the Shun Group. I hope you all will be kind to me in the future." Someone in the audience said, "Isn't this the director of the Shun Group's marketing department? It seems that President Shin sent her to the grassroots for training. Mr. Shin really knows how to raise his daughter. He has raised such an outstanding daughter who can take over as the president of the group at such a young age." Some business partners in the audience began to flatter my dad. My dad looked extremely proud. When Elsie just returned to the country, I wanted her to take over as the president, but she insisted on going to the grassroots first to better understand the company. So I let her do it. Sure enough, a tiger father has no dog daughter. Mr. Shin is so capable and he has raised such an excellent daughter. My dad led me off the stage to meet some business partners and board members I didn't know. I could tell that some of them were just flattering my dad, and there were even some who were not convinced that I could take over the group at such a young age, but they didn't dare to make a scene because there were so many people. I held a glass of juice and followed my dad to offer drinks to everyone. "Sorry, I can't drink alcohol. I'll just have juice instead. I hope all the uncles will understand." A slightly greasy-looking man handed me a glass of red wine. How can a young person not know how to drink? There will be many social engagements for President Shin in the future. Not drinking would be disrespectful, right? A hand took the glass of wine from in front of me with a slightly impatient tone. She said she can't drink. Don't you understand? I followed the hand and saw that Leo Pei was standing beside me. The greasy man glared at Leo Pei. "Who are you? What business do you have here?" Leo Pei casually stared at the wine glass in his hand and turned it around, his thin lips slightly parted. "It's getting cold. Your company." Leo Pei paused for a moment, his sharp gaze fixed on the greasy man and then said, "Is going to go bankrupt." The greasy man seemed to have heard something unbelievable and burst into laughter. "Haha. Who do you think you are? Bastion? Have you been watching too many vertical screen dramas? You say go bankrupt and it goes bankrupt? Do you know who I am? Do you know the strength of my company?" Leo Pei took out his phone and tapped a few times. The greasy man thought he was just pretending to be cool and waited with a mocking smile. When he saw Leo Pei put his phone back in his pocket without any further action, the greasy man spread his hands. "Is that it? That's all?" Leo Pei casually adjusted his tie. 3, 2, 1. As soon as he said 1, the greasy man's phone suddenly rang. He wiped away his smile and took out his phone to answer it. His face turned pale in an instant and he looked at Leo Pei in disbelief. He was still in a daze after hanging up the phone. "Who on earth are you?" Leo Pei ignored him and extended a gentlemanly hand to me. "May I have the pleasure of inviting Miss Shin to dance?" I took a step forward. In his current posture, my lips were just close enough to his ear. I whispered, "It seems your identity is quite significant, my husband." Leo Pei turned his head in shock. His lips brushed against mine slightly and I quickly moved away. I didn't pay attention to his shock and walked out of the lobby. As soon as I stepped out, I saw Fin Fu and Bai Lian who were being stopped by security guards. Bai Lian was dressed up and linked her arm with Fin Fu's, arguing with the security guards, trying to sneak into the banquet. The security guards asked them to leave because they didn't have invitations. Bai Lian saw me first. She said, "Isn't that Miss Shin?" Dubo canvas type equals, text markdown, identifier equals night blindness wedding continuation, title equals, Night blindness and wedding betrayal continuation, genre equals. Fu Fin's gaze snapped to me. He immediately pointed a finger, raising his voice. I'm her husband. If she can go in, why can't I? The security guard turned to look at me, instantly straightening up respectfully. I lifted a hand and said flatly, I don't know them. The guard's expression hardened as he faced Finn. Sir, no invitation means no entry. Please leave immediately. Finn lost his temper. Shin Elsie. You really want to be this ruthless? You won't let me in because you're scared I'll meet your new CEO. Scared he'll like my project and reinstate the investment. I nodded casually. Well, if you think your project's so great, why are you fixated on Shin Group? Go pitch to other companies for funding. I shrugged, savoring the sight of the scumbag squirming with frustration. You. Finn was left speechless, sputtering with anger. The so-called first love, Lien, chimed in, feigning reasonableness. Finn, she has a point. Your project is excellent, Shin Group is just blind to its value. I read in a finance magazine that the heir to Beijing's Pei Group is returning. Pei Group has a branch here in Haicheng too. If your project impresses them, that's an even bigger backer, isn't it? Finn's eyes lit up instantly. Clearly he thought Lien's idea was brilliant. He grabbed her hand, voice softening. Lien, I knew having you by my side is my luck. Lien leaned into his shoulder, putting on a coy, delicate act. I clapped slowly. Wow, you two really are a match made in heaven. Wait, Lien and Finn. Doesn't that sound like a white lotus breaking a fish pond? A play on their names, implying Lien is a manipulative white lotus who toyed with Finn. Lien's face paled slightly. Finn's expression turned ugly too. Shin Elsie, stop spouting nonsense. I told you, Lien's just a senior from university. We're completely innocent. Why must you be so filthy-minded? Even the security guard couldn't hold back. You keep saying you're our CEO's husband, so why is this woman your side piece? Being called a side piece by the guard made Lien's face blanch. I couldn't help but laugh, giving the guard a thumbs up. Well said. Your salary's doubled. The guard nodded gratefully. Thank you, CEO Shin. CEO Shin versus Director Shin. Just one word different, but Finn didn't catch it in his fury. He glared at me incensed. Shin Elsie. What's your problem? You're just gonna let your employee insult Lien like that? I spread my hands. That white lotus has such obvious wrinkles, she must be over 10 years older than you, right? Lien frantically touched her face. Even with heavy makeup she couldn't hide her nasolabial folds and crow's feet, not to mention she was actually a few years older than Finn. Tears welled up in Lien's eyes. Finn, I'm not as young or beautiful as Ms. Shin. You should forget me. With that she covered her face and ran off. Lien. Finn called after her, but she didn't look back, one hand covering her face, the other hiking up her dress as she fled. He glanced at the darkening sky, a scheming glint flashing in his eyes. He turned back to me, raising his voice. Leaving right after our wedding was between us. Why take your anger out on Lien? Why drag the project into this? I glanced at the sky too, knowing he was stalling, waiting for full darkness to exploit my night blindness. Fighting the urge to roll my eyes, I said, first go look in a mirror and see what you're really like. Second, your first love is only 6 years older than you, so why does she look 16 years older? I gasped, pretending to cover my mouth. Oh, I heard women who've had kids age faster. Could it be your first love had a child abroad and came back to trick you into being a cuckold? I stared at the top of his head as if envisioning a field of green grass, a metaphor for infidelity. No wonder your head's turning into a grassland. Finn's face turned ashen. He suddenly looked past me, his eyes brightening. Leo, over here. Help me explain. I was on a business trip abroad this month. Elsie's just misunderstanding. Leo walked over, his gaze lingering on Finn's head as if confirming something. It does look like a grassland. I couldn't hold back a snort. Finn's face darkened further. Finn glared at Leo, annoyed. Leo, what are you talking about? Nothing, Leo said casually, pulling out his phone and turning the screen toward Finn. Just saw some photos. The woman in them looks a lot like your side piece. I caught a glimpse of the screen. Photos of Lien being intimate with different men abroad, even a photo of her foreign marriage certificate. One particularly shocking shot showed her in a bikini, tangled with 3 men. Suddenly, Leo raised his hand to cover my eyes. The images are too dirty. Don't let them stain your eyes. Finn's scream of rage echoed. This is fake. Someone must have photoshopped these. Lien would never do this. Leo played along, nodding. Maybe. But based on the timestamps and locations, these were taken when she was abroad and cut off contact with you these past few years. Finn's suspicious gaze snapped to Leo and me. You too. I slipped my arm through Leo's without hesitation. Leo's face lit up with joy. I stared at Finn, my voice cold. Aren't you the one who sent him to my bed as a stand-in groom? He raised his fist to hit Leo, but Leo countered with a punch that sent Finn crashing to the eye. Told the security guard not to interfere, then turned and walked toward the exit. As I reached the parking garage, several thugs blocked my path. One whispered to the scar-faced man leading them, "Boss, it should be dark outside by now. Why doesn't she look like she can't see?" The scar-faced man sized me up. I sized them up too. He said, "Maybe it's not fully dark yet." Another thug rubbed his hands together, licking his lips lewdly. "Damn, she's really a looker, fair skin, pretty face, long legs. Lucky us." My gaze drifted past them to the corner of a dress peeking out from behind a pillar. Lien's. "Do you know who I am? Daring to block my way?" One of the thugs scoffed. "Just a pretty girl who goes blind at night. Being able to play with us is your luck." I glanced at him, raising an eyebrow. "Oh, you think I'm blind?" He flinched under my stare, turning to the scar-faced man uncertainly. "She really doesn't look blind." I held up my hand, admiring my new manicure. "I'll give you one chance. Tell me who sent you to hurt me and go hurt them instead. Otherwise..." I shook my head slowly. Finn had told everyone about my night blindness, so even Lien had tried to use it to harm. The scar-faced man laughed mockingly. "Big talk." He swung his fist at me. I grabbed his wrist, twisting it hard. His scream of pain pierced the air. His underlings froze. "Boss, what's wrong?" I yanked harder, breaking his wrist with a sickening crack, then kicked him away. His men scrambled to help him up, their eyes now filled with fear. Suddenly, someone spotted Lien trying to sneak away. "Boss, that bitch is over there." The group immediately chased after her. As I drove out of the garage and rounded a corner, I saw Lien being dragged into a dark corner, her mouth covered. Her struggles and angry glare faded from my rearview mirror as I turned onto the main road. The next morning I changed into my work outfit and went downstairs for breakfast, only to find the living room filled with exquisite gift boxes. Leo was chatting amicably with my parents. When my mom saw me, she hurried over to pull me over. "Elsie, you're up. Look, Leo came to see you bright and early." "Me?" Leo had bruises around his eyes and lips, obviously from fighting Finn the day before. He stood up, his hands fidgeting in front of him, looking flustered. "Elsie, My mom sensed the tension, quickly interjecting, "What's wrong? Elsie, you might not remember, you used to follow Leo around everywhere when you were little." "Me?" I had no memory of knowing Leo as a kid. Leo put on a wronged expression, like a child who'd been scolded. "It's okay, Auntie. I must have hurt Elsie somehow. She's only acting like this because of me. It's all my fault." I stared at him in disbelief. He looked like he was about to cry but holding it back. Was this the same Leo I'd known? "Mom, I really don't remember knowing him as a kid," I said, confused. My mom pulled Leo and me to sit down, one on each side. "Oh, you've just forgotten. When your grandpa was still alive, our family was neighbors with Leo's grandfather. Leo used to stay at his grandpa's house and you'd follow him around all day. You even played house and said you wanted to be his bride." At my mom's words, Leo perked up. "Auntie, I'm here to keep that promise. To be honest, I came today to ask Uncle and Auntie for permission to marry Elsie." Realizing he might seem too hasty, he added quickly, "My parents are already on a flight to Haicheng. They should arrive soon with the betrothal gifts." My mom's eyes lit up when she heard Leo had come to propose. Then she hesitated, her expression turning odd. "But Elsie just broke up with that scumbag. Would you mind?" Leo shook his head so hard it looked like it might fall off. He pointed to his bruises proudly like they were trophies. "Andy, look at these. I got them fighting that scumbag yesterday. He treated Elsie so badly, if it weren't for the law, I'd have beaten him within an inch of his life." My mom's eyes sparkled even more. "Exactly. That scumbag was blind to your worth, Elsie." She then fussed over Leo's bruises. "Leo, wait here, I'll get the first aid kit. You need to clean these properly, or they'll ruin your handsome face." Nanny Wang walked in saying, "Sir, there are guests here." My dad said, "Show them in." Wang shook her head. "Sir, you should come see for yourself." I saw Leo smile. He stood up, but my mom had already returned with the first aid kit. "Hey, where are you going?" "Leo, let's treat those wounds first." Leo sat back down obediently. I was about to go with my dad to greet the guests, but my mom stuffed the first aid kit into my hands. "Elsie, Leo got these bruises fighting for you, you should be the one to dress them." Before I could protest, she followed my dad and Wang out. Leo looked up at me, feigning innocence. "Then I'll trouble you, Elsie." I could see him struggling to hide a smile. I took out a cotton swab, dipped it in iodophor and pressed it gently on his bruise. The pain made him gasp and his eyes misted as he looked up at me and said, "Elsie, are you trying to murder your husband-to-be?" I frowned. "Don't be ridiculous. I haven't agreed to marry you." Just as I was about to turn around, he pulled me down and I sat on his lap. He leaned close to my ear and said, "But Elsie, you call me husband every night." His warm breath tickled my ear, making me shiver. My parents had already brought the guests in and saw this scene. They all turned around and said, "It seems we came at the wrong time. We didn't see anything. We didn't see anything." I quickly pushed him away and stood up. His lips were still curved in a smile. I cursed him inwardly as a male fox. He pretended to be nonchalant and stood up. "Dad, Mom, you're finally here." My parents and his parents sat down on the sofa in the living room to talk about our marriage. He and I sat in the dining room for breakfast. There was a huge table, but he insisted on sitting next to me. Just as I was about to drink soy milk, he had already placed a glass in my hand. When I was about to eat fruit, he used a fork to pick a strawberry and put it to my lips. It was as if he was the worm in my stomach, always knowing what I was thinking before I did. I looked at him suspiciously. He smiled at me and said, "What's wrong? Is there something on my face?" He even touched his own face. "Leo Pei, although something happened between us, why do you think I would agree to marry you? Fin Fu is a scoundrel who deceives and plays with women's feelings. What kind of person are you who cooperated with him to treat me like a toy? I only pretended to go along with your act because of your good genes. How could you take it seriously?" In an instant I saw his smile disappear and his eyes fill with tears. He bit his lip and said, "I know it's wrong, but Elsie, the reason why I..." "Enough. I don't want to hear it." I didn't listen to his explanation and left. But why did my heart ache faintly? I sat in the CEO's office, trying to forget those things by working, but Leo Pei's pitiful expression kept flashing in my mind. I closed the file folder irritably and walked out. Just as I stepped outside the building, I saw the guest who came to my house in the morning, Leo Pei's mother. She was standing outside the building with a bodyguard holding an umbrella for her. Seeing me, she walked over and said, "Elsie, can I talk to you?" I nodded. "Andy, it's so hot today. What are you doing here?" She smiled and said, "I heard you just got a new position. I thought you must be very busy, so I didn't disturb you. I waited here to see you." I pointed to a coffee shop nearby and said, "Auntie, let's go and sit there to talk." We entered the coffee shop and sat in a corner by the window, watching the busy traffic outside. He handed me a very thick notebook. I was puzzled, but she said, "Open it and take a look." I opened the pages and saw photos of me as a child at the beginning, with words written on them. "Today is the first day I met Elsie. Elsie is so cute. I love hearing her call me brother. Today Elsie was bullied. I beat up the person who bullied her until he was crying on the ground and calling for his mother. I must always protect Elsie. Uncle Shin said Elsie should learn martial arts so she won't be bullied again. I also need to get stronger so I can always protect Elsie." Turn the pages further, there are still many photos and notes. There is a photo of Fin Fu confessing his love to me. The note reads, "Elsie has grown up. On the first day I returned from abroad, I flew straight to Haicheng wanting to find Elsie. But I was too late. She had already accepted someone else's confession. But I won't give up. On purpose I got close to Elsie's boyfriend Fin Fu. If he dares to hurt Elsie, I will be the first to punish him. I saw Elsie but I was so sad. I deliberately told Elsie my name but Elsie didn't remember me at all. Elsie has night blindness and can't see at night. Fin Fu actually left Elsie outside because of a call from his ex. He casually asked someone else to take Elsie home, not caring if she would be bullied. I had no choice but to volunteer to take Elsie home. Fin Fu, this man who deceives and plays with women's feelings, has a white moonlight in his heart. He still wants to use the wedding to drag Elsie along just because Elsie is a senior executive of the Shun Group and can bring him business. I will definitely make Elsie see through his true colors. There is also a photo of me in a wedding dress. The note reads, "Elsie is so beautiful but that cheap wedding dress doesn't match her at all. How dare Fin Fu insult Elsie like this?" He actually took advantage of Elsie's night blindness and wanted someone else to accompany her in the bridal chamber. I won't allow anyone to hurt Elsie. Elsie's groom will only be me and only me. The notebook is very thick with many photos of me and everything Liu Pei did secretly when I didn't know. Tears blurred my vision without me realizing it. Memories that I had long forgotten kept flooding into my mind. I closed the notebook and choked out, "Auntie, where is he? He should be at the place where you two first met." I immediately walked out. The place where we first met was the neighborhood where my grandfather used to live. I stepped on the gas pedal and felt that the red lights today were especially long. Finally, I arrived at the neighborhood where my grandfather used to live. The only difference from my memory was that the trees by the roadside had grown bigger. I saw Liu Pei under the shade of a tree from the car. I got out of the car and shouted at his back, "Liu Pei." Liu Pei turned around and saw me standing there in surprise. I ran towards him and threw myself into his arms. He was stunned and didn't know what to do. "Elsie? Am I dreaming?" I looked at his stunned expression and kissed him on the lips. "It's not a dream. It's me, Elsie Shen." His pupils shrank. Before he could react, I said, "Liu Pei, thank you. You took 99 steps towards me. The last step will be taken by me towards you." He finally reacted, wrapped his arm around my waist and placed his other hand on the back of my head, kissing me passionately until I was out of breath. Then he let me go and hugged me tightly. "Elsie, I thought you would never want to see me again." His voice was slightly choked. I patted his back soothingly. "Since you love me so much, I'll tell you a secret." He let me go and I took out my previous pregnancy test report from my bag and handed it to him. He took a look and his eyes lit up with joy. I smiled and said, "Congratulations, Mr. Pei. You're going to be a father." He hugged my waist tightly and spun me around several times, attracting the attention of passers-by. Liu Pei and I held a grand wedding and we will be happy forever. The end.